Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it? Okay, it's the Brad and John Show. I am Brad Hildebrand. He is John Combest. You can check out his website every single day. He updates the top stories in the state of Missouri. JohnCombest.com, COMBEST.com. Hey, going back to the very first segment, we're in segment C right now, the very first segment, you mentioned that you have time-stamped the audio interview of John Lamping on your website. So, what do you listen to all this stuff?
Yeah.
So how do you have time for this?
I don't. Well, here's the thing, Brad, and this is a great topic around this time of year. Everybody has 24 hours in a day.
Right.
And you prioritize what's important to you. So not every interview that I link to on my website every day, I actually sit down and listen to the full content of it. When Jay Ashcroft is reading through a set of talking points for the fourth time and nothing has changed in the last 3 months, I'll just add a link that says, hey, we're at KWTO, the Elijah Har Show. Jay Ashcroft is the guest, and folks could listen to it. And I might even skim through. Usually I'll skim through and see if they, if they're talking about anything new. For something like a John Lamping appearance on 97.1, I'm going to listen to the whole thing. Number one, I'm interested in it. But number two, as a service to readers, because you, Brad, might not care about a 12-minute interview, but you might just care about a 1-minute segment. We all have 24 hours in a day. We're reaching that ridiculous time of year where people make New Year's resolutions. I don't know if you know how I feel about resolutions, Brad. I've tweeted this before, and I posted it actually to the cringe platform called LinkedIn yesterday. But I think resolutions are absolutely ridiculous. And for men, I'll say that, and I'll tell you why I say for men. And in most cases, they just serve as a list of things people look at in January. They remind themselves that they never follow through on anything they tell themselves they're going to do, and they end up just feeling worse about themselves.
Well, I guess. I mean, I see a certain amount of truth in that. I mean, I go through some of the things like I've got goals I'm setting for next year. I'm starting a new website, which I won't talk about yet until it's done. It's not, I already have the domain name, but I have to, put it together and start it. And something that I've been sort of passionate about for a long time, that it's either going to be interesting or it's going to be a waste of my time. And I don't know exactly which one it's going to be, but it's something that I'm going to personally undertake. And quite honestly, you are part of my inspiration.
Oh, thank you, bro. I'm sure I know you can't tell details about it, but I'm already honored that you would consider my website or any site like that an inspiration.
Well, I'm going to do it every day. And it's going to be something that I'm going to do every single day.
Nice.
And starting on.
And see, now the difference is though, Brad, when you talk about when you make goals and you think about things that you want to accomplish this year, it's backed up with action. This is different than somebody making a list that says, "Oh, I'm going to go to the doctor and I'm finally going to lose weight and I'm going to join that gym," and they never follow through with action.
Well, no, they'd follow through action for January and probably the first couple weeks of February. Ask anybody who goes to the gym regularly, because once you get the day after New Year's Day, January 2nd, you can't get a spot in the parking lot at most gyms.
Absolutely not. And come 6 weeks from then,
right?
Because guys work out like they were still in high school, and all of a sudden, well, my shoulder kind of hurts, or my back kind of hurts,
or they go like, I don't like going to the gym. It's work. It's work,
and it's challenging too.
Yeah, right.
So that's my rant about New Year's resolutions, and it's people would be better just staying on the couch, popping an edible, numbing themselves out, because that's what they really want to do anyway.
Okay. You know
that's
what?
That's your demotivational message from John Combest today.
Yeah, demotivational message. Okay, you mentioned something in the first segment. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and try this because of the fact that I'm thinking to myself, who better to get the scoop on this story from the man himself? I'm going to call.
Let's call him.
I'm going to call Mark McCloskey, see if he answers, because almost every time I call him, he answers. Okay, here we go. Dial his phone, and let's see if it's here. Okay, and let's see if he's answering.
Hey, Brad.
Mark, hey, you're on the air right now, so none of those.
Are you there?
Yeah, you do you hear me okay? Here we go with my phone not working again. You can't hear me? Oh, damn it. You know. Hold on, man. Let me do something here. Hey, Mark, do you hear me? He doesn't hear me. Here we go with my goofy phone problem again.
Hey, you know what? We're going to get it
Are you
worked
there?
out, Brad.
Hey, hold on a minute.
Sure.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, Brad.
Hey, I can't get you on the air. My phone's getting goofy again. But can I call you tomorrow? We wanted to talk about the court decision with your guns. Is that okay? I'll give you a buzz tomorrow, and I'll try to fix my phone system. See, what's crazy is you're the only person it screws up on. I can hear you, but you can't hear me. So when I take you off our phone system, you hear me just fine, correct?
It's my magnetic personality.
Yeah. I'll give you a buzz tomorrow, and I'll work on this today, okay?
Okay, sounds good, Brad.
Okay, bye.
Hey, Brad, I looked up the exact definition, and it's pretty straightforward of why he can't get his guns back. The appeals court says that when Mark pled guilty, that triggered the guns forfeiture. So no matter what the governor says about pardoning the actual crime, the mere fact that McCloskey pled guilty triggered the guns forfeiture, and he can't get them back.
Well, you know what I say is the real reason.
What's that?
Because you know that if he got them back, they would become like this, incredible trademark of his. You know what I mean? He'd say,
"Yeah, you're right.
This is the gun that got me in trouble."
And he could carry it around, and
Right.
I mean,
Well,
within reason.
Well, but once again, I'm thinking to myself, okay. Now, the sad part of this is the nerd part of Brad that comes out, okay? There is a company, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. Matter of fact, I can look it up here real quick. There's a company that has an agreement with police departments all over the country. And what they do is, after the guns have been confiscated, let's say they were using a crime or something like that, the police departments confiscate the guns, and then they keep them for X amount of time. Some of them, there's a statutory, requirement that the police department or the sheriff's department, whoever, the state patrol, keep the guns for a certain amount of time. Obviously, if they're involved in a crime, they have to be, if they're used as evidence in the court case, they have to be retained for that type of thing. But a lot of times, the stuff sits in a storage locker for the police department, and then at some point in time, they decide, hey, let's get rid of these guns. Well, it's gotten to be sort of a problem thing because they don't necessarily want to have the guns that were used in crime back out on the streets. So in other words, they're using a third party, and the third party is, I think I should have it up right now.
The New York Times had a piece about this month.
About what about
the fact that the guns were supposed to be, one company took a bunch of guns and was supposed to destroy them and recycle them, and instead the company resold them.
Yeah, well, I can't find it right now. I thought I was able to find it.
They were rebuilt and resold.
Well, these are just offered for auction. It's a gun. There's a company called Bud's Gun Shop, BUDS, Bud's Gun Shop. I believe they're down in Mississippi or Tennessee or Kentucky, one of those states, and they are like one of the largest. I think they may be the largest online seller of guns. Now, I know people out there are going to go, I thought that was illegal. How do you buy a gun online? Well, here's how you do it. You go on budsgunshop.com, you pick out your gun, you buy it, and in the checkout procedure, it asks you, here's a bunch of FFL, which stands for Federal Firearms Licensees, which are the gun shops, and what they do is they ship it to the FFL. So, like, for example, one of the more popular ones is the Range West out in West St. Louis. I think this is actually out in Manchester or Ellisville or something out there. Way out there. It's actually behind the Wendy's. They're across the street from Vlasic Park. You know where that's at. Yep. I believe it's an old bowling alley. And they've got a shooting range downstairs and a very big gun store up top. Can you tell I've been there before?
Yeah, I know exactly where you're talking about off Manchester.
Right.
You're right. There used to be a bowling alley there.
Yeah. Okay. So you buy it from Bud's Gun Shop. They ship it not to you. They ship it to them, and you pick whichever one. They have a whole list of them in the St. Louis area. Anybody who has an FFL license, which essentially is all your gun shops, they have to have an FFL license. Even the pawn shops have to have that. And you ship it there, and then you show up there And that's where you fill out the form, the one that got Hunter Biden in trouble, and once again, if you are, and this is the interesting thing, if you are a recreational user of marijuana, and it asks you if you use marijuana, and you say no, you could be behind federal bars for, I believe, 10 years.
If you actually do, you're saying. If
Right.
you say you don't,
Right.
you
If
do.
you lie, and that's the whole thing. See, that's the whole thing with the Hunter Biden thing. People go, well, he just answered. There are, if I'm not mistaken, I got to do some research on this. One of the people that that Trump pardoned when he left office was a certain rapper that got nailed on this. That he bought a gun, went to a gun shop and filled out the form and essentially lied on that question. And,
is that right?
Right. And then they, because of the fact that there apparently was video of him, once again, he was a popular guy and apparently.
Oh, I think I saw it. So I just Googled it. So it could be Lil Wayne. It could be Kodak Black.
I think it's Kodak Black.
Yeah.
I think he pardoned Kodak. If you know who Kodak Black is, somewhat of controversial, even among rappers. Matter of fact, there's a couple classic. If you know what the Breakfast Club is, or what is it? Is that
the Breakfast Club. Yeah, that's, Charlemagne the God.
Right,
and all
right.
Those guys.
There's been issues where he gets into fights on the Charlemagne the God
It
show.
makes for great radio. I've watched a number of these fights.
Now, keep in mind, Charlemagne the God is a really interesting dude because he's a very talented radio guy, and now he's doing, a TV series and the whole bit. But what's interesting about him is, even though he's black and you think he would be essentially dyed-in-the-wool Democrat, he's not.
He can't stand a lot of mainstream Democratic politicians.
Right. He's the one that was, when Biden was running for office, he was on his show that Joe Biden said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Remember that comment?
Yeah, I do remember that, of course.
And Charlemagne the God got really upset about that.
Yeah. Well, it's just it's the arrogance and the taking of, and folks don't talk about this enough. One of the mistakes that Republicans make is every election cycle, Republicans say, "Ooh, this is the time when black voters are going to see the light," and it doesn't happen, and it never happens. However, very slowly, we're seeing a shift of black men who are, and the numbers bear this out, who are tired of being blamed as a man for everything, and being told that they need to raise their sons to be transgenders and to be soft, and that doesn't fly in the black male community.
Well, John, I'll take it one step further than that. As a man, I'm tired of being blamed for everything.
Absolutely.
Not black, white, green, right, whatever color man.
I don't mean to interrupt, Brad, but also the idea of toxic masculinity.
That's exactly it.
Think of how many black fathers who are present in their kids' lives. They strive to be a strong male role model, and what do you hear from black female media and from white female media? Oh, men ain't what, and and we are independent women. We don't need no man. They're tired of it.
Well, and God, don't get me going on this because
I'm going to get you going on it. This is the second best topic for you besides public radio, Brad. I know how to get you ginned up.
Well, it's to the point where right now, and I find this very, very, very scary to the point where if you look at the military recruiting, they have not hit their goals. And once again, we used to have a draft, and they used to draft, however many people they needed. However many people they wanted, they just drafted, right? And if they needed 100,000 new recruits in the Army, they took 100,000 people from the draft pool. Okay, now it's volunteers have been for decades now, okay? They're not hitting their numbers. And part of it has to do with the fact that there are a lot of people going like, okay, we saw what happened in Afghanistan. I don't want any part of that. What the Biden did where we left Afghanistan. But probably the biggest part of it is that I heard the statistic again the other day, and it's very scary. Mid-70s, 72, 73, 74, 75, something like that, can't physically pass the physical anymore.
Absolutely not. You're absolutely correct.
And I'm going like, what in the world? And we're talking the what they call military age, which you hear this term sometimes on NPR and other stuff like that. You've probably heard it before. They're talking about it like they're talking about it a lot with the immigrants that are coming across the border. That there's so many of them that they're like groups of single men. They're not with women, but they're of military age, meaning they're 18 to 35, which is considered to be military age. In the United States, that's where you have to to be. If you're younger than 18, you have to get permission. And if you're older than 35, there's special ways. And like, for example, you know who got into the military after he was 35?
Ted Williams.
No, Hunter Biden.
Oh.
Hunter Biden, I think, was 42 or something like that, and he got into the Navy, and then, of course, he got, the whole weird story. See, this is a story nobody talks about anymore with Hunter Biden. He got into the Navy, and he shouldn't have gotten into the Navy. What you can figure out, well, if the vice presidents are, I think he was just the senator at the time, if Senator Biden's son wants to get in the Navy, well, we better let him in, and things were changed the whole bit. He got kicked out because random drug test he failed. So I can't remember how long he was in the Navy, and I think he was a JAG in the Navy. That was the whole deal with that. But once again, you get in this crazy stuff where it's like, okay, go back to World War II, where you had this huge number of Americans who were in good shape, who went over and willingly fought for our country. Nowadays, there's a lot of people going, man, this country's screwed up. I don't know if I want to do anything about it,
And they couldn't meet the physical standards anyway. I just looked it up while we were talking here, Brad, and it's the Army. There were several big national stories about it this summer. The Army is spending $200 million for what are essentially fat camps for people who can't meet the standards. They go in and they spend a couple months trying to lose weight and not stuffing their face, so that they can start to meet the physical standards.
See, boy, talk about a weight loss program. You get paid to lose weight, right?
Yeah, what a deal. It's even better than going to the New Planet Fitness, Brad.
Right.
And you don't have to wait in line for a treadmill.
Right, you have to pay for that, but if you join the Army and you're overweight, they're going to get you the weight off, and at government expense, and And
at a certain point, and this is probably a minor issue, it's never just one thing that causes these issues. But at a certain point, you look at the military recruitment ads, and you find these on social media all the time that are embracing diversity and that have pride flags and that say that everyone is welcome. And, at a certain point, the idea that joining the military was a strong masculine thing to do, which is what my dad was in the military, which is what I thought growing up. Obviously, men joined the military, and now men and women and some people in between can join the military.
Well, and that's one of the other reasons I'm glad you brought that up, because of the fact that people are saying the military is turned into the DEI Central. You know what I mean? It's to the point where...
Yeah, I mean, it can be an experimental... It can be a petri dish for some of these liberal experiments.
Right, which I don't think is working out too well. The military, you want people who go out there and, and if they have to, let's say it, kill people, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. That's the end of the show. We're out of here. Check out John's site at johncombest.com. You can check out our site at bjshow.com or at Egbert, E-G-G-B-R-T.
bjshow.co. Sorry to interrupt.
I did it again. Right. I'm sorry. Thank you, John. I'm screwing up all the time. I'm the biggest screw up in the world.
You are not.
Talk to you tomorrow. It's 8 o'clock.